Hello everyone. Today I'm very excited to share with you some great information to make your project more user-friendly and to be more interactive with the user, and the users will love this a lot. So stay tuned, and this is what we will cover today. Hi guys. So in this video, I'll walk you through the steps of building some graphical user interfaces in your project and make your project more interactive and more friendly. So we'll talk about some of the concepts that we will cover today, and we'll talk about the JavaFX. So the JavaFX, this is the new API that came with Java 8 and the latest versions, and this will be our subject today. Next, we will talk about the creating windows, the layout, nodes, and scenes. In addition to that, we will talk about a full example to design a login interface. So look at this. This is one of the ways that we did in the past. This is one of the previous lessons that we talked about. So if you didn't watch this video, go ahead now. I'll leave the link to that in the card above here. And this will help you to understand the functions, methods to build a banking system. So one of the functions or the methods that we build is to accept username and password. This is the login system. So look at this. This is just a boring way to present the messages to the user. So instead of printing them, accepting the username and the password like this one, so instead we will go ahead and switch this login system into a more user-friendly, and this will level up your project into a higher level and it will be more acceptable. This is what we are going to do. I think you'll like this much better. So this is the project we will do in this video. This subject will be covered through a series of videos. So what we are going to do is this interface, and here the user will enter the username and the password, and then we'll click on the login to start logging to the system. We will do this project in two steps. Today in this video I'll show you how to start creating the interfaces, and in the next video, maybe next week, will be how to add some actions to the controls here and how to process the user input. And remember, I'll give you a nice bonus at the end of this video, is how to mask the password here to make it more looks like a real one. So make sure to watch the video until the end. So before we get started, let me give you some hints or background. So the JavaFX is a new framework for developing Java graphical user interface, have been released with Java 8. And at the end, we'll talk about the event-driven programming languages, and this is what we will cover in next meeting. So here let me decompose and break down the stages and the controls plus the object that we are going to build and design in this project. So we will start by first designing the stage, and the stage here will act like a window. Next, inside the stage, we have another layer, which is the scene that is containing all the controls that you want to add to your page. But to make it more organized, we want to add another layer, which is here the parent. As you see in this diagram, the parent will be represented as a pane or a control, and the pane is where you will add your controls, your buttons, your text boxes, and labels and so on. So by using the pane, you'll be able to organize the object into your scene instead of doing that right away on the scene. So the nodes will represent the object, the controls that we are covering in this meeting. So the nodes will be like the buttons, the text boxes, labels, combo box, and other stuff. Now, with JavaFX, as we mentioned, that we have the parent that we want to add to your scene. The parent can be represented as a pane, and the pane has many different kinds and shapes. So here are some kinds or types of the panes in order to organize your nodes, and it will be acting as a container to contain all your controls. So here we have the pane, stack pane, flow pane, grid pane, and others. We'll talk in our example about one of them. We'll take the grid pane as example, and this will place the nodes in the cells in a two-dimensional grid. So it will be more organized, and you can display your controls in the way that you want. So let's start. This is a new project, and one of the first requirements is to use and extend the JavaFX API. One of the components, one of the classes of JavaFX is the application class. So what we need to do first is to make your new project, the main class in your new project, to extend the application class. This is first. So we need to import some classes here, and the first one is the JavaFX Application.application. This is one of the things. The next thing, we need to implement all the abstract methods of this class. Now, here we extended the application class, and one of its methods, it's called as the start. So let me repeat what we just did. We created a new project. We named it as Graphical User Interface 1. The first step that I did so far is to extend the application class, which needs to import the JavaFX application. And next, we need to implement the method start, which is part of this application class. Now, here where you want to start writing your code and writing the controls that you want to add. And the start takes the first parameter, which is a stage, and as we mentioned that the stage is a window. So first thing, we want to add some controls. So let's declare these controls first, and then we'll add them to the parent. With the parent here will be the grid pane, and the grid pane will be inside the scene. The scene will be one of the components of the stage, which is the window here. So as you remember from the design that we just started with, we want to build a login window, and in the login window we have some text, we have input boxes, and we have two buttons, the login and the cancel. So let's do this one by one. First, we need a label, and this is one of the controls. Label, I will name it as user name label equals new label, and here is the text that you want to show, username space. So this is what you want to display. The label is an object that will help you to display some text on your screen. So this will be next to the box, the input box. So in order to make this acceptable, we need to import another class, which is this one. Remember, do not use the AWT. We are working on the JavaFX. So we are working on the controls. So we just imported this one. So here instead, I am going to use not just the label in my project. So I will use other kinds of controls. So I replace this label by a star. Now this is the first label that we are going to add. So let me show you all the controls first, and then we'll add them together. Now we are doing another one. So look at this. Here I am copying. You remember how we copy the lines? So this is what I covered in one of my previous videos. So I will leave the link to this video. So now I am using label for password label, and here is the another one which will be displaying password. So we have two things here to be displayed, and now let's go to the next one. We want to display some text boxes to accept input from the user. One of them is a text box, will be called as a text field. Text field is a text box that we want to use. So username text box equals to new text field, and this is the first one. We'll copy this object, and here is the password text to accept the text password from the user. In addition to those, we need to do what else? We need to do the buttons, the OK button and the cancel. So let's go for the first one, text that we want to associate with the button. So here, login. We will do the same thing for the cancel. Cancel here is the name of the button. So now let's go ahead and let's start gathering these things and adding them to the scene and to the pane as we planned. So again, as we mentioned, we have the main window, which will be represented by the primary stage parameter, and this is the main window. Here inside the window, we need to add some containers, and the container that we are going to do is a GridPane, and this is one of the containers that we can add to the scene and then to the stage. So let's go ahead and create the GridPane. This is the control that we want to add, and let's name it as a parent. So here the parent will be equals to new grid, and here we need to do the other import this layout. We have different layouts, and the GridPane is one of the layouts. Now we are ready to save or to add these controls into the parent, which is the GridPane. So let's do one by one. Parent that add to add the controls. So we want to add the first control, which is the user name label, and here we can set the coordinates and XY coordinates of this object. So here I'll set it by 10 seconds. We'll copy this line and instead of the username label, we'll do the password label, and we'll save the label in the right place. So before doing this, let me do one by one. Let me do the username first. So here in this username, we just added the label, and we want to add the text box next to it. So here I will use the username text box, and we'll do it in the same line but different column. So let's do it like this one. Here we added the password label. Let's add the password text, and the password text will be here in different locations, and we'll do the same here. So those numbers represent the X and Y coordinates on the screen, and we are just locating them in the right place. Two more things we need to copy and paste in order to do the buttons. So we have the login button, and we'll save it in a different location. So let's say 2080, and cancel. Now we are done with all of these controls. We added them to the parent, which is the pane, the GridPane, and we are locating them in the right place. Next, let's start doing the scene, which is one of the needed things. New scene, and here we need to set and to add the parent, which is the container that we just added, that is including the buttons. The scene needs another class to be imported, and this class, as you can see here, is the scene.scene. Just a couple of steps to be done. And now, after creating the scene, let's add this scene to our window. And as you know, the window name is, and here we're gonna use the .set scene to set the scene, and the scene as we declared it as CS1. One more step to be done. So now let's display this window, the primary stage .show, in order to show it and to see the result. Okay, so we are done with the start method that we just did, and now we want to call it from the main to trigger this start and to start our windows. So this requires the calling for the app, the application dot launch, so to start launching the project. And here is it, right? So now you can write admin, and here password, and so on. But we didn't add any actions here, and this is what we will cover in this next video, to add some actions when the user click on something or write on the text box, and so on. I didn't forget the bonus that I shared with you, and here is how to cover this password and how to mask this password today. Before that, do not forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and to consider to subscribe to this channel. And so look at this. Here is how the results should be, and it's masked, it's covered, so no one can see it. So let me show you how I did it, and this is the bonus for you. All what I did, instead of using a text field to accept the password, I commented this line and I replaced it by another control that is named password field. So keep everything as it is, just comment this line, and I am using a new control, which is a password field. I named it as the same name. By the way, I'll leave the link for this text for this project in the description below. Thank you for watching, and see you next video.